It better not be that simple. It better not be that simple. If it ends up being Tomoya that is the actual stalker of Nanase, that's going to be super cheesy. Like, randomly out of nowhere, this pretty boy shows up, and he's extremely obsessed with Nanase, and he's talking to Saku about being, going out and everything like that. Then Saku brings him under his wing, and he keeps bugging him about information about Nanase, and it turns out that he's actually the stalker. I don't think that would be the case, just because he learned from Saku that it is a fake relationship for a reason. But it could play into what Kenta said at the very beginning. What did he say? Kenta, for some reason, brought up some crazy idea about people that get their knockers off of by, making a girl think that they're being stalked and making them afraid and get their jollies off on it. It could be Tomoya. Out of nowhere, Tomoya reveals it. He's like, yes, I've been doing all these pictures and scaring you just because it makes me feel good or something like that. It would be stupid. It would be stupid, but I could see it happening. Although, it does make you wonder if Saku knows. Does Saku know that this guy might actually be the one? That would be cheesy if he just reveals that, yeah, I've been playing into Tomoya for this entire time because I suspected it. And here's the reveal. I knew that was Tomoya the entire time, and Tomoya's over like, shock, how did you know? I could have gotten away with it. It wasn't for these pesky kids. It would work out, I guess, in the end, but it would be like two cheesies in one. We'll see, though. But yes, Chitose-kun Ramune bottle, it's back, folks. It's finally back after so many weeks. It's finally back. It feels weird seeing an episode 6 of a show right now, but that's the unfortunate thing about that. I was debating if I even wanted to pick up this show up again now that it's returned, just because we know that within a few weeks it's going to go on hiatus again until probably earliest late winter season. So we're talking like 3 or 4 months into the next year before we get the last episodes, but I'm hoping we'll get to at least the ending point of Nanase's story, like a good closing point for her story, and then I might stop there because I don't know if I want to get into another storyline before we get that long wait, because winter's going to be crazy, and by the time the show comes back, it's going to be like, I'm going to forget this show, but we'll see how it plays along. I'll give my perspective when that time comes, like, hey guys, I'm probably going to stop here. Like, again, when we finish Nanase's story, I'll probably say, I'm done. But until then, let's get into it. Let's get into this actual episode. Again, opening up the episode with Kenta talking to Saku about the potential of the stalker. And again, Kenta revealing his mindset of what he thought of those guys that were at the library and what he thinks is going on. He points out the fact there could be two individuals or two types of people. One, people gathering information, or they could be people that are trying to scare somebody because they get their kicks off of seeing somebody afraid of being stalked or whatever. And yes, getting the idea of utilizing dirt in order to blackmail people rather than, using violence. All this stuff is I like how Saku's like, what the hell, Kenta? What kind of person are you? Well, I read a lot of novels, dude. Kenta's over here like, dude, I read the minds of so many twisted individuals with all these light novels and stuff like that. I got some dirt that I can use. But yes, that's when Tomoya shows up. And yes, Tomoya is somebody that's apparently in Nanase's class that apparently is really into her and wants to see if Saku is actually going out with her. It wasn't really sus at this point. This guy randomly shows up. It's just more sus to have a named individual show up out of nowhere, having a deep interest in Nanase. And that's perfectly fine. He's going to be jealous because he obviously really likes her and Saku's right here. And he doesn't really believe that it's true. Like a lot of people, I mean, it was even the case with, Yuko and stuff. When they seen that Nanase was walking in with Saku, they're like, you guys aren't going out. What the hell are you guys talking about? Nobody believes this. Anybody that knows these two individuals, they know this can't be true. And it's the same for Tomoya. He knows Nanase and doesn't see that she's going to just randomly get in a relationship. So he called it out. So it at least shows that this guy knows her a little bit. But yes, for some reason, Saku reveals it. I'm not sure why he would. I would expect that if Saku was going to reveal it to this guy, he's obviously feeling bad for Tomoya. Like, yeah, this guy, obviously, young little guy, got a cute face. He's really into Nanase. I don't want to break his heart, so I'll just tell him the truth. Yeah, he says basically be prepared to deal with the consequence if you tell anybody beyond this table. But I would expect he would at least say, like, and just know that if you tell anybody that's fake, nobody's going to believe you. Nobody's going to believe you over the two of us. It was kind of weird that he openly admitted that. And again, this plays into my theory that possibly Saku, for some reason right here, already knows this guy might possibly be the stalker. And it could turn out that he's seen Tomoya before and thus already has sort of a feeling about this guy. But we'll see. But yeah, He asks for dating advice and everything, starts being really demanding of him. But that's when we cut from the cafeteria, and yes, Kenta got a text. My boy Kenta, who was so thankfully brought under Saku's wing, Saku graciously allowed him to join their group. Kenta decides to backstab my boy. This guy chose the girls over Saku. They apparently texted him and said, bring Saku to this classroom and kick him in there and close the door behind you. And sure enough, he sells out Saku for Yuko and Yua. That was great. I just had a feeling because he was like looking very nervous at the phone. And they started walking together. He's like, come with me. I'm like, oh, he's totally setting him up. This is good, though. I love seeing that Kenta is playing into them. Like, even Saku's response to it, he's like, he sold me out. It's like, it's totally like Kenta's a part of them now. But yes, they're super mad because, yes, like I said on the roof, don't put yourself in danger for the sake of this whole thing. They were upset at him because they were at the library and they seen that he was walking out there by himself and putting himself in danger for the sake of this. It's sort of getting the idea that you have to take this more seriously. It feels like you're kind of walking into this nonchalant and you're putting yourself at risk. And what's the point of protecting her if you're just going to be put in danger too? Like, we got to think about this a lot more logically. And he was technically putting himself in a great deal of danger and not really putting much thought into it. He could have been seriously hurt. So they're obviously really mad about it. So I like to see them kind of pressing on him on that, promise that you won't do it again. And yes, he's like, that aside, I can see your Ponsu. This entire time I can see your Ponsu. I thought the same thing because they like sit down like there, squat down. I'm like, yeah, he's going to bring up the fact that he can see Ponsu. Yeah, there he goes. I have to point out that, yes, even though Yuko said that she would not show it to him until that destined time, she apparently was perfectly fine with showing him off right here. I thought that was funny because like back when like was it episode 1? Yeah, it was episode 1. They were on the bike together and she was just showing off to everybody. He's like, somebody passing by is going to see your Ponzu. And she's like, that's fine. Can I see your Ponzu? No, you can't see it until that certain time or something like that. Apparently it's here. Parents like, it's right here, apparently. Anyways, it was cute. Little double pinky swear. But that's when we get a little brief scene with Asuka, which I think this is the first time we've actually seen her at school. He goes to the rooftop. Apparently Asuka's up there. It seems like Kuro-sensei knows Asuka because when he says, I got access to the roof, she's like, oh, it's Kuro-sensei. So it seems like it implies that the teacher knows both of them. She's a third year. He's just under her. Either way, he goes up there in order to get his little session, apparently. Very interesting thing that she points out during this little talk. He pretty much gets her fully updated on what's going on with Nanase, and she points out the thing that makes him great. That basically he acts alone, but that he has somebody that can support him. And the idea that he never really fails to accomplish anything, but he always seems to go out there as if he has nobody to rely on, yet he has so many people around him. And this sort of does go into favor of what Yuko and Yua was saying, that we all talk to each other on that rooftop about how we're going to support each other and help each other. But then what happened when it all went down? He walked out there by himself. Yeah, eventually, Asano and Mizusino did show up, but that was like after the fact, like at the very end of it. He's really acting on his own. He's achieving things, but he's always acting on his own. It's interesting. But yeah, Nanase shows up. Nanase shows up, and I'm not really sure what Asuka meant when she talked to Nanase. She said specifically, I won't offer unwanted sympathy when we only just met, which is cool. The idea, I'm not going to act like I know you. I'm not going to act like we have some sort of bond and try to, say it's going to be okay when I have no clue about you. But she says, don't look away. What does that mean? Please don't look away, ? All I can think of is connecting it to the conversation that Saku and Asuka had just before then about the idea of him acting as if he has nobody by his side, but yet there's a lot of people at his side. Maybe the idea is that when things do go wrong, when he does step out there by himself, don't let him. Don't just look away when he takes the bullet. Because it does kind of get to something a little bit later on when they do run into the pictures that were put in her mailbox. She sort of said something to the effect of, I should be afraid, but I'm not really afraid because you're kind of at the crosshairs. This idea that she doesn't feel, she is putting on a brave face, but right now she feels comfort because, like Saku wanted, he got them to target him. He put himself out there as a shield and drew their aggro, and thus she's not being fully attacked. So she feels less afraid. He becomes the enemy of the Stalker rather than the Stalker going and attacking her. He's constantly worrying about Saku and trying to get Saku to leave. So maybe this is sort of something where Asuka's acknowledging that Saku's playing as if he has no support, even though he can have support, and not to look away. Please pay attention to what he's doing. Watch him, basically. Don't get distracted. I don't know. That's all I can really get from what she says there. Anyways, yes, she points out she's just like you, pointing out that Nanase is sort of the type that puts on masks just like Saku. Again, they're very much so alike, so I can see Asuka seeing the same thing. But yes, her asking what kind of relationship she's in. Asuka says, it's what you picture it to be, but it's more complicated, and it's a little more tasteful. Like, you probably have some weird, perverted thought process about a relationship. It's more tasteful than that. An older girl and a younger boy whose dynamic you should be a little more wary of. It's such a tease. She's so baiting her so bad. And again, I do believe that Asuka sort of gave the indication that she doesn't really want to get too close to Saku. So I wouldn't doubt that she'd sabotage herself and her relationship by pushing Nanase. But yeah, that cuts to the little conversation between Saku and Nanase. A little bit of a jealousy from Nanase. I'm a little bit more girly than I thought I was. It's cute. Yeah, pointing out the fact that sort of what I noticed in the first episode, of everybody in the group, of everybody in Saku's little circle, Nanase was the only one that was ever, addressed with her last name. She's Yuzuki Nanase, but yet he calls her Nanase. The same for him. She calls him Chitose. They are not close enough to be friends and not yet lovers. For the longest time, I thought that might be an indication that Chitose or Saku has not done anything to save her, and thus they have much more of a barrier there. They're not quite familiar with each other that much, whereas everybody else he's very familiar with because he's gone through something with each one of them. So that gave me an indication that she was yet to be fixed, and it kind of plays into with this whole arc. But I'm kind of curious if eventually that might be more of a sign of why they're not connecting to each other is because both of them have masks and barriers that they've already set for each other, and thus they don't want to get too close. But that can also open the door to them being more romantically interested in each other than anybody else, thus they don't want to get too friendly. They don't want to get to friendly status because they want to get to relationship status. And it kind of, again, plays into that because of how she's speaking right here. She's kind of jealous and, yes, wants to be more special. She wants to hold his hands, and he's like, nope, don't get too friendly. Don't get too comfortable with this whole thing. Become a bad habit. It seems like he himself internally has talked about, yes, he wants to brush this off as well, but he's also realizing that he's thinking the same thing. He's thinking this idea of, being something special to each other. And again, that was sort of what it was setting up for coming into this whole deal they had, was as he was walking to the restaurant before she requested this of him to be this fake boyfriend, he was talking about the idea of, again, putting up those barriers, not creating this opinion of it being a relationship, and not overplaying love as some sort of fantastical thing, because if it comes true that they're not the person you think they are, it shatters and it leaves a bad taste in you. And that's sort of what he gets into with Tomoya on the phone. When he gets on the phone with Tomoya, he's telling him, hey, dude, shatter that expectation that you have, Nanase. Stop putting her on that pedestal of this glorious thing that turned around and turned her light on to help you out in picking up your stuff. This goddess, came down from the sky and helped me. She just didn't want to be a nasty person. Not that she gave a rat's butt about you, not that she's some savior of you, is that she didn't want to be a bad person. She didn't want to be the self of her that would be ignoring somebody that needs help. Not that she wanted to be your helper. It's a really cool way of thinking about that whole thing. But again, the whole mindset there is shatter that expectation, see her for a normal person, and then if you still like her, then pursue her. It's exactly what he was saying about relationships to begin with. He doesn't like this idea of creating some fantastical perspective of love, only to have it shatter, and then you blame the other partner for not meeting your expectations. It's a realist way of seeing love, really. It's a realist way of seeing love. Anyways, yes, Nanase and Saku get to her place. They find the photos. It says to break up now. Again, points out the idea that she's not too afraid, even though she should be, because it seems like he's the target. But he also acknowledged that she's putting on a brave face and wants to kind of resolve this before that fades. Again, that was something that he noted back when she was at the riverside, that she's showing that weakness, that this is something that she's only going to be able to last for so long with. Now, here was the interesting thing, because he knows that, hey, you could probably set up like a, security camera. No, I don't want to bring my parents into it quite yet. I'm like, just set up a webcam. Like, it's so easy just to set up a webcam. Just put up a webcam, run the wire out the window, let it point down towards there, and just run it on record. It's that easy. And now, granted, her bedroom could be like not close to the front of the house, but like just attach it to the side of the house or something. Just a real small one. You can get like a really small one as well that runs on battery that you can stick somewhere and let it record. Just don't tell your parents about it. It's like so many ways that she could have recorded this, and apparently they get 2 more letters, so it's like, girl, just set up a little small camera. They're really cheap anymore. But anyways, yeah, we cut to Tomoya and Saku talking again. Kind of mentioned that already. The idea of him kind of playing her up as being some sort of goddess that saved him one day, and how he really needs to break that mentality. But it was odd because he points out that he's been talking to Tomoya on a nightly basis to give him advice and everything about, romance. And again, this is where I'm thinking, there's no way that he's spending every night talking on the phone with this guy, this random guy that shows up that likes Nanase, and he's giving him advice like this. This guy's got to be more tied in with this. He's got to be involved somehow with this whole ordeal. And again, it could be that Saku knows and he's trying to dig something out of him. I don't know. He could be a total creeper. I'm feeling it. Now, the only thing that really pushes against Tomoya as being the stalker is the fact that later on we find out the letters later contain pictures of her in her first year, which I think they implied the idea that she recently transferred into the school. I believe she's changed schools at some point. So, I don't know. But yeah, that's when we cut to the game. Saku shows up on the balcony. It points out Otomu and Nazuna again. That's totally going to be misdirection. I don't see Otomu and Nazuna being at all involved with this whole situation. But yeah, I do agree with Saku in pointing out the fact that these two just randomly show up for this game. But I don't know. I don't see it. I really don't see it. Nazuna did look a little uncomfortable, and so this could be a thing where Otomu is trying to start something and Nazuna's being drug into it. I feel like it's trying too hard to pin them as being the bad guys in the situation. I don't think they're going to be. They could know what's going on, and maybe they have a curiosity about how it's going to play out. Maybe they've been informed that it's going to happen. I don't know. But yeah, Nanase, apparently her shoes got stolen, so Saku offers to help. He goes running around, points out the 2 objectives here. It could be somebody that wants to steal them because they want to have them because they're obsessed with her, thus they're going to be gone. Or these other option where they're just trying to scare her a little bit, thus they're going to be somewhere they can be found later on. And sure enough, ends up being a situation where it can be found. Again, this sort of lays it into an idea that it's not going to be somebody that wants to take them home and smell them and keep them as sort of a prized possession of them. So less stalker and more harassment, I believe, is where it's kind of pegging that. But he ends up finding them, taking them back. I love the coach, like, totally accepts to bring him over the bench. Yeah, do you have any extra money that you can pay to fix the hedges? I'm going to act like I didn't hear that. But yeah, brings him over there, asks if he knows much about Yuzuki. He says that he's watched her a few times. And that's where the coach kind of gives her perspective on both Umi and Yuzuki. Specifically that Umi is full pedal to the metal, that she's always kind of gun-ho. Whereas Nanase herself stays in control of herself. She's always thinking about how to bring the best out of Umi and the team. But now and then, she goes wild. So yes, it kind of plays into what we already know about Nanase's character and the idea that she's very calculative. She kind of makes moves that are very calculative. She knows how to bring the best out of people. She knows how to read people. And that was sort of like that first impression that we had when Saku first runs into Nanase in episode 1. He says something to the effect that this is the type of person that kind of reads the room kind of type. I can totally see that. But I think that it's sort of kind of flagging something here and pointing out the idea that, now and then she goes wild. So kind of tying everything in the episode together, it sort of gives me the impression that we're going to have a moment where, like what Asuka said about Saku, he always acts as if he has nobody at his side. He always goes forth by himself, even though he has people at his side. Then tells Nanase, don't look away. Nanase is over here. She's the type to read and be calculative, but every now and then goes wild. I think it is sort of playing out this idea that Saku's going to keep stepping out there, being a shield, accepting all the aggro, and eventually he's going to be put in danger, and Nanase is going to have to finally not look away and rush out there herself. I think it's going to turn into a situation where he's going to be out there, and she's going to have to step in front of the bullet. She's going to have to step out in the front lines and stop letting him protect her. I think that's what they're sort of laying this out with how it played out this episode. But we'll see if my theories are true. Tomoya will be the creeper, and Nanase will step forward to smack him across the face. We'll see. We'll see. But it was a good episode overall. Interesting stuff to kind of dig into here. Really the mindset of Saku's character, a little bit of mindset of Nanase's character, and kind of how they're all playing together. But anyways, that's my thoughts on episode 6, not episode 9 or 10 like every other show right now. Episode 6 of Chitose is in the Ramune bottle. Really good stuff here, but I hope you guys enjoy this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below. If you like this content and want to support channel more, become a member. Until next time, y'all take care.